Okay, so this is my equation example, and when factoring by grouping, especially if it's a quadratic, it's better to, um, and if the leading coefficient, so 16, is not 1, then it's better to use grouping method, but first of all, you have to find the greatest common factor that divides into all of them, which in this case would be 4, and it would be so basically, I just took the greatest number that divided into all of them and rewrote the equation like that. And then once it's in this form, you can start grouping method, which means first you identify A, which is 4, B, that's 25, C, that's negative 21. And once you have that, you do a cross diagram, and up here, you multiply A times C, and which is minus 84, and then you put B down here. And so now you have to find a number that when you add it, it gives 25, and when you multiply it, it gets negative 84. And in this case, that number is minus 3 and 28. Because as you can see, when multiplied, they give you this, and when added, they give you that. And now you rewrite the equation. You can forget about this, but for the moment, but later you have to write it again. So now it would be 4x squared minus 3x plus 25 minus 21. And once you have this, you divide into half, and you factorize each half like one equation. So here you take the greatest common factor, which is x, and it would be 4x minus 3. And then here you take the greatest common factor, that is okay, so now after this step, you rewrite the equation again, and this is what the new equation looks like, and then you divide it by half, and then you factorize each half like it's the own equation. So first you take the greatest common factor. Here it would be 4x, and inside would be x plus 7, because 4 divides into both of them. And then the greatest common factor here would be negative 3x plus 7. As you can see, this is the same for both, and this is really important because if when factoring this you don't get the same value for that, it means that you've done something wrong, or it cannot be factored by grouping. So once you have this value, you rewrite the equation again. So it would be 4x minus 3x plus 7. And then you have to remember that we had this 4 from the beginning, so we have to write it again here. This would be the answer if it's asking you to factorize, but if it's asking you to solve, then this one you wouldn't have to do anything because it doesn't have a variable here. This one, you would just set it equal to 0, and then you would solve for that. So, and then you would set this one equal to 0 too, and you would solve for it. So these would be the answers if it's asking you to solve. So this is another example, and as I said before, you always start by taking out the greatest common factor, and in this case the greatest common factor is 3x, because all the variables have an x, which means you can take it out. and you rewrite the equation. And it will look like that. And now, as we continue working on that, we can forget about this for now, but we have to put it in our final answer, because if not, it wouldn't be correct. So the first step is to identify A, which is 3, B, which is 19, and C, which is 20. And once we have that, we do the cross diagram. And in this top box, we write A times C, which is 60. And down here, we write the value of B, which is 19. And so now we have to find a number that added together gives you 19 and multiplied gives you 60. In this case, that is 15 and 4. Once we have these values, we rewrite the equation so it will look like 3x squared plus 15x plus 4x plus 20. Okay, so once we rewrite the equation, the next step is to divide it and then factor each one like it's its own equation. So first, take the greatest common factor. Here is 3x, and it will be x plus 5. And here is 4, and it will be x plus 5. Okay, so our equation looks like this. This means that we're doing it correctly and it can be factored by grouping since this is the same. Then we rewrite it in factorized form. And we put this back here so it's correct. And that would be your answer if it's asking you to factorize. If it's asking you to solve, first it would equal this to 0, so 3x equals 0. That would mean the first value for x is 0. Then 3x plus 4. You set it equal to 0. And it would be 4 over 3. And the last value of x would be negative 5. That's only if it's asking you to solve.
Hi.
Should I do a hard one or like a medium one or like a... Can't be too easy.
Medium. Hi. Factoring by decomposition is a deceptively simple task. Now, not all trinomial expressions can be factored, but when a trinomial is factorable, one can use decomposition. It's called decomposition because you quite literally decompose the trinomial by taking apart the middle term and making it too small in numbers. Once you've done that, you can factor by grouping. So here, for our example, we're going to start a little easy just to get the point across. How about 2x squared plus 7x plus 6. That's our equation that we're going to be factoring here. Now, we can see from this that A equals 2, B equals 7, and C is going to be 6. That's the first thing you're going to want to do. It's going to be to determine which numbers A, B, and C are, because it's very important for the rest of the process. Now, you can also see that A times C equals 12. That's very important too, which you're about to find out why. Now, in order to start the process of decomposition, we need to find the two numbers that add up to 7 and multiply to 12. So, to do this, we're going to make a happy little x right here. And we're going 12 on the top, since the two numbers have to multiply to 12, which is a times c. And then we're going to have 7 on the bottom, since they have to add to 7. Now let's think of some factors here. We could have 6 and 2, so multiply to 12, but wait, no, they don't add to 7. 6 plus 2 is 8. We could do, oh man, how about 3 and 4? That makes sense. 3 times 4 is 12, and 3 plus 4 is 7. So we'll have a 3 here, and a 4 here. Now, we're going to rewrite this equation with those new numbers that we've just discovered. It's going to go like 2x squared plus 3x. Remember, we're factoring that 7x plus 4x plus 6. Now, if you look here, you can see that we'll just be able to factor by grouping, since you have this set and this set. And now if you just make some parentheses, you can just do 2x squared plus 3x in one set of parentheses, and then in the other, you've got 4x plus 6. Now, from here, things get a lot easier. If you look, you know that our next step is to take out the greatest common factor from each of these. From this one, you're going to see that since you have 2x squared plus 3x, the greatest common factor of those two is just going to be x. So if you take out the x, you're left with 2x plus 3. Now, for this set of parentheses, the greatest common factor is going to be 2, since you have 4x plus 6. Think about it, it's 2. So you take out that 2, and you're going to be left with 2x plus 3 inside that parentheses. And here's a point where you're going to want to proof check your work, because if these two parentheses don't have the same numbers in them, then you've done something wrong. We know that we've done it right, because it says 2x plus 3 and 2x plus 3. So now, you're going to want to rewrite this, and in one set, it's going to be x plus 2. You take these two numbers, the ones you pulled out, and the other set, it's going to be 2x plus 3, which is what's left over in these parentheses. All right, that is how you factor a decomposition.
Today, guys, we are going to factor this polynomial and complete this equation. So the first thing I did was broke this polynomial into groups. So you can see 100x squared plus 90x, and then plus, in another set of parentheses, 90x plus 81. Then our third step would be to write this second part out. See, now we're gonna factor out the common multiple of this. So the first common multiple is 10x, and the second one is 9. So after we do that, we're gonna take this equation and we're gonna get the final two terms, which would be 10x plus 9 and 10x plus 9 again. Then after that, we're going to refine this equation, and it's going to come out to 10x plus 9 squared, and that would be the answer to your polynomial completely factored. And now, the reason this is a special case is because it follows this format right here.